to here. I'm going to try to nail this down in 5 minutes, the things that you need to be aware of when you're hitting your forehand. It's not always that easy because as people make mistakes, it'll be obvious to me what they're doing wrong. First monster mistake most players I see on their forehand is they're completely square to the table. Now, if you can imagine a baseball player trying to hit a ball, they would never stand square to the pitcher. You're always going to be to the side. Why? Because you want to be able to use your waist and shoulders as part of the stroke. If I'm standing square, no waist, no shoulders, I'm giving up about 85% of the power that I have at my disposal. I don't need to be like a golfer and be completely sideways because then the next ball that goes to my backhand, I'm hitting it behind my back. Okay, so I need to find kind of a middle point between being straight forward and also being sideways. So generally what Lewis and I talk about is just being kind of like at 30 to 45 degrees. Now, I'm saying this right now, but when we do games this afternoon, 80% of you will be hitting your forehand in this position. And unless you make a conscious effort after you hit a backhand to when you come to your forehand, having your right foot slightly behind, you're going to be doing what I kind of call like a paw stroke, where it's all arm. It's not really chicken wing because that's on the backhand, but you're just kind of poking at it and not stroking through the ball. You have to get your shoulders involved in the stroke. I mean, you don't see tennis players coming up and hitting it like this. You see them turning and going through. Well, the reason is they're hitting a heavier ball 10 times further. So just remember, when you come into your forehand, we need to have a back foot. It doesn't have to be sideways, but at least you need to be able to push off so that when you turn your waist and shoulders, there is some weight transition. The weight transition should be loaded on the back foot during the backswing. And contact, it should be in the center of your body, not follow through. Your weight should be on your front foot. I mean, it should be a little bit easy to remember, and it will feel a little bit like a rocking motion as you're doing forehand to forehand. I have begun to see internationally a lot of players, when they're warming up, it looks like they're only using their arm. And it's true when they're warming up. Once you see them playing in a match, you'll always see them going through the ball fully with their hips, waist, and shoulders. So when you warm up, forehand to forehand with your practice partner, it seems like, oh, this is such an easy and boring drill, and you end up just blocking it. Try to over-accentuate doing a full stroke, because in a game, you're probably going to be doing a little bit less as you're nervous. So don't go mini and warm up, and then in a game expect, well, I'll just do the correct stroke then. Usually doesn't work that way. So first rule everyone needs to remember is come in at a slight turn or a slight angle with your feet. Okay, and again, not 90 degrees and not 0. Somewhere in between so that we have the back foot. Other thing is that the elbow doesn't need to be moving a lot. A lot of people, as they're hitting their forehand, you'll see they're turning across their body, and the hand and wrist aren't doing too much work, but the elbow's helping go through the ball. I've been teaching for as long as I can remember, keeping the elbow relatively stationary and letting the shoulders and the forearm do most of the work so that we can brush up the ball and not be in a blocking motion where the wrist is locked. So if my elbow is still, but my forearm is coming up, I'm able to brush the back of the ball. And almost on every shot, whether it's a backhand hit or a forehand hit, we need to put a little bit of topspin. Okay, we don't want to hit it flat. If I hit it flat, Lewis's spin dictates where it goes. If he gives me underspin, I hit it flat, it goes in the net. If he gives me topspin, I hit it flat, it goes up. By brushing the ball, I add a little bit of my own spin and I take his spin off of it. Okay, so number 2 point is keep the elbow relatively still and let the forearm come up. Also, it's going to make it a heck of a lot easier to get ready for the next point when the elbow is here versus if I'm crossing my body. When you cross your body, you're going to get off balance and it's going to be tough to come back to the same side. Okay? It's easy to cross and then hit a backhand. But if you cross here, I have to hit a forehand. Half my time is spent in the backswing. By the time I get there, the ball's already too close. So keeping it nice and easy. You're generally, after every shot, going to want to somehow center yourself a little bit so that if the ball were to go to my backhand or forehand, it's not that big of a deal. Whereas if I do this, and I was taught this by one coach, hit, come back, and then when the ball moves, I'm going to do a different stroke. So you can hit, relax, now I'm ready for either side. The ball comes, turn my shoulders, back, hit, relax. I'm ready for anything. If I'm doing this hit, the first time the ball goes to my backhand, I'm going to be stabbing across. Okay? So, other thing to pay attention to is your left hand needs to be here for a little bit of balance. If you play and you look real cool but your left hand's on your hip, your shoulders aren't going to move together. Okay? They can. The hip is stopping. But here, I can get my shoulders to really swing through the ball. So there's really only three major things I want everyone to pay attention to. Have your feet at a little bit 30 to 45 degrees. Keep your elbow down so that when you're stroking through it, it's more of a forearm brushing stroke. And then also use your left hand for balance. If we can get those three things into play, forehand starts missing, check those three things. I could give you a list of 15 things to be aware of. It's not going to make a difference if these three aren't paying attention. The feet is going to be the biggest thing. If you can get into the habit, and it's going to feel like, boy, I've got to wait for the ball. Well, yeah, you do. I mean, that's an important part of the game. Yesterday I was playing with Dominique, and the thing that I think she realized is that when you do the stroke correctly, you got a lot of time. So when you do the stroke incorrectly, then you feel jammed. Same when you're playing a better player. It's like, boy, they've got all the time in the world, I've got no time. The reason is because they're executing the stroke so much more efficiently that they can wait until the ball gets to them to do the stroke versus the ball leaving their racket and you're already scrambling to get to it. So relax, take a nice easy backswing. Remember the backswing, contact, and follow through. They're both a balanced amount. Backswing should take 50%, follow through 50%, contact in the middle. Okay, we don't want to have a 2-inch backswing, 2-foot follow through. We don't want a 15-foot backswing and a 1-inch follow through. Make them balanced. The whole idea is that we play more points than our opponent. So if Louis, do you want to help pair people up for the first go round? Like we said, everyone's going to be playing with everyone, so don't view this as your final pairing.
Jay and David, Dan and Dominique, Ron and David.
So he already has the names.
Kessler, except I can't remember his.
Brian.
Brian. Right. Kessler and Brian.
Which David?
David, you're David and Ron. Yeah, you're David. I'm sorry. Yes.
Okay, just to point out some of the common errors that I saw with the forehand. This is why I didn't mention them at the beginning because I would have been pointing out too many things to be aware of, but I just wanted to give everyone a chance to go out and begin to focus on weight transfer, keeping the elbow solid, and using the left side of your body. If your elbow's in too tight, you're going to lose a lot of power, okay? Didn't seem like power was the problem with most players. It was getting up to 20. I mean, if it feels like, gosh, it's to get to 20 balls, that's just brutal. You've got to be able to do it. When I was a youngster, my coach had me hit 1,000 in a row without a mistake. Until you can do that many, or at least 500, you're always going to be thinking when the ball comes to your stroke, well, let's not forget a part. But when you can do that many in a row, it just becomes the ball's there, and I'm already in my mind stroking through it and thinking where I'm aiming the ball. So going back home, the first rule of homework is see if you can get to 100 in a row. If you've got to go slow and almost make it like a block with a little bit of body, that's what you got to do. But that's the only way to get the consistency up. Okay, hitting 4 balls with increasing power. I see this at the 1,500 to 1,800 range. Every shot in a point goes increasingly harder. That makes no sense. It really doesn't. I mean, especially if the person has a good short serve. You can't just start going, well, I'm going to flip it, then I'm going to loop it, then I'm going to kill it. You watch the DVD tapes or the DVD discs, you're going to say, gosh, they got a lot of long rallies. Well, there are some choppers on there. But you don't see the world-class players go hardest, harder. I mean, they're usually mixing it, playing the position, making a good stroke, and always they're ready for the next ball. They've never hit themselves out of position. That's what you'll see when you're doing forehand to forehand. If you get out of position on forehand to forehand, you got to slow things down. key things to remember. Elbow needs to have some distance away from your body. If you're in close, you're giving up a lot of potential power, okay? Having the racket tip up, it's tough to use your wrist effectively. What we want to do is, if this is like a clock and this is 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 9 and 6, we want the tip to be more at 3 when you're coming into the ball, and as you finish, we're going to have it come up towards 12, but it's going to be pointing forward, okay? I don't want you to come in like this, okay, where this is staying at 12 the whole time. I don't want you coming like this where it's staying at 3. There's actually some rotation that you're going to go through, and that's why I say keep that elbow down. Okay? Left hand is for balance, okay? And every time the ball moves from the previous ball, that's the amount of footwork that you're going to have to do. If Lewis hits a ball here and then here, that's 4 inches. My feet have to move 4 inches. I mean, imagine a golfer. He's lining up at the driving range, he puts the ball down, and he's all perfect, and then I move it 4 inches. He's got to move 4 inches to do it. But what we do too often is we hit a ball, and we say, well, I'll just plant my feet and I'll just reach, or I'll just get jammed. Quickest way to keep the quality of the stroke up is move the correct amount. That means when the ball leaves Lewis's racket, that's when I start my move. I don't wait till the ball hits my side of the table because there's no time. I mean, it's only going to be about 0.2 of a second from the time it leaves his racket till when it's on my racket. I need to move early. So I watch Lewis's racket. Oh, it's aimed to the backhand. I move. Oh, it's aimed to the forehand. I move. No matter where he's aiming it, I start moving as he goes into the ball. I've yet to see anyone who has been able to contact the ball and redirect it after they've touched it. Most of the times the ball hits your racket and it leaves. It doesn't hang out for like a minute. And then the guy says, well, I want it over there. So when you see the racket coming into the ball, that's going to the backhand, that's going to the forehand, that's going to the forehand, that's going to the backhand. You can see at least 4 inches before contact, 95% where the ball's going. That's when your feet start moving, okay? And then once you get into position, stay balanced. Right foot for the righties has the weight, and as you hit the ball, go through it. So a lot of people, when we're doing forehand to forehand, stopping at contact. That's half the stroke. You've got to go through it with your shoulders, okay? Brush up the ball and turn through the ball. If you're going, Mr. Albright, we're stopping the stroke too early. Relax and go through, okay? Relax and go through the ball. It's going to make going to your backhand that much easier. Okay. The reason why we spend a lot of time on the forehand is, again, forehand loop, forehand push, forehand block, forehand smash, forehand flip. You have a good forehand, you've done 80% of those strokes. Okay, the rest of the strokes are all small variations on a strong core or foundation. Jumping over to the backhand. Let me just check to make sure I actually turned this on.
Yep.
When you're unsure about things to do on the forehand, you can always imagine a tennis player. We tend to do a lot of the things the tennis player does, but just miniaturized, just shortened up. Okay, you see them take a big stroke and go through. We do the same thing. It's just backhand. It's not true. Tennis players turn on their backhand and hit through. We don't turn our waist like that. We're going to tend to be facing our opponent's backhand corner with our body and our feet. So again, I'm not square this way. I'm not turned sideways. I'm kind of in almost the exact same forehand position as I was, but I'm going to hit a backhand from it. And the reason why is backhands are done in front of our body, forehands are on the side, okay? I'm not trying to hit a backhand off to the side and constantly hit a forehand, turn, hit a backhand, take too much time. I'm going to cheat, play the backhands in front of my body. If the ball does come up, yes, I can turn, but generally my backhand's going to be right in front. Elbow is still going to stay relatively still, and I'm going to take that racket angle from 9 o'clock, starting coming into it, and still come up till noon. See a lot of people doing backhands like this. This is fine if you're a pen holder, okay, and you're going forward, but for a shake hands player, you're giving up a ton of leverage. You wouldn't throw a frisbee like this. You throw it. We want to do basically the same thing with our backhand. Is let the elbow stay still and go through it just like you're throwing a frisbee. Wrist needs to be nice and soft, okay? You're going to be fine-tuning the contact. We're not going to be going boom and keeping the wrist locked. Even on the pen holders a little bit you can feel a little bit of just nudging the ball. That's what we want. So Lewis and I are going to hit some backhands. My left hand is for balance. Also, just watch my feet for, go ahead and just move it a little bit. Again, the same deal is if the ball moves a couple inches, I'm going to move a couple inches. I'm not going to do this move where no matter where he hits it, I'm going to reach. It's hit, move. Always soft on my feet. And I can hit 100 to 200 without any difficulty because I'm getting in position and then I'm just doing an easy stroke. The foot to move, a little bit of footwork, the foot to move is the one closest to the ball. So if Lewis hits it wide, my left foot is closest, so that's where I'm going to move. I wouldn't, if the ball's here, move with my right foot because now I'm screwed for the next one. So if the ball's here, right foot's closest, here, put it in the center of my body. Ball's here, move my left foot, center of my body. I'm always trying to get the ball in the center of my body, keeping my elbow nice and relaxed out, and adding a little bit of topspin. As he hits it, my feet are ready to, just like a guard in basketball. One final thing on the backhands before I send you out. Please be aware of your left hand. When I see left hand on the hip or the left hand just hanging here, the problem is not for your backhand. You can still hit your backhand with a non-existent left hand. When it comes time to hit your forehand, your shoulders are going to get all screwed up because you're going to hit a backhand here, and here comes the forehand, and you're going to go like this. Remember, we just did the forehand with both hands working. So by keeping your left hand up, when you hit your backhand, your forehand is going to improve on the transition from backhands to forehands. Here, here, here comes my forehand, boom, I'm right there. Versus here, here, here comes my forehand, now I'm doing a whole different stroke, okay? We want to stay balanced. The whole idea, and I think it's in the rules, the person who keeps the ball on the table longer wins the point. Okay? It doesn't matter who hits it hard, it's still who keeps the ball on the table longer. Okay? You can make it stay longer by more spin on the ball, by outlasting, by letting them make an unforced error. Be surprised how many matches I've won in my career by letting them take crazy shots and missing, but maybe putting them into that bad position with good placement. But we need to get that consistency up. So we're going to go backhand to backhand. This way for lefties, we go straight down the line. Key thing, relax the wrists, still brush up, keep the ball slightly in front of your body, and let's get moving and less reaching. And Lewis is going to pair people.
Well, with everybody on your side, you go down one. If you're on this side, you're going to go
down one. So you're going to have to remember which table you're on. Just come a little bit next. Okay, just a quick mini review. Hopefully everyone realized that something as easy as forehand and backhands where you know where the ball's going is a lot more difficult, okay? That's one of the reasons why I kind of pay more attention to using your body more and less with your arm, because you have a lot of time, but you don't have a lot of time. I mean, as you hit the ball, you don't want it to be so strokey that by the time more forearm, but using your waist and shoulders and going through the ball. How did everyone feel about going over to the forehand and being slightly turned? Was there any problem? I know that Timo, we made a big discovery with his left foot, actually his right foot on the backhand was slightly in front, and that was causing him in this drill just a big headache. By pulling it back, now the stroke just became so much easier because it wasn't a kind of like a dance move, okay? It was hit and turn, okay? Other things that I noticed, when you're moving to your forehand, do not move blindly. What I mean by that is, after you hit your backhand, you know the ball is going over there. People say, okay, it's time to move to the forehand. Go over here. Oh, I just got jammed. Why would you move past where you need to? Well, the reason is most people don't want to make a good judgment of how much to move. It's just, okay, I'm going to just move. No one's going to say I didn't move. Well, that's all good and dandy that you did the movement, but it's more important that you move the correct amount. So when I see Lewis's racket is there, that's at that angle, that's here. But the other thing is, Lewis's ball's gonna land right here. That is not where I move to. That's where my forehand's gonna stroke the ball. It's usually 2.5 feet to the mark of where I'm gonna stop, because I've got a forearm and it's at the side of my body. So if Lewis hits a ball here and I get my right foot right behind where the ball bounces, I am jammed, okay? So after you hit the ball, you see where the ball is moving from his racket angle, get close to it and then stop and then reach for it, okay? Reaching so that I can actually do a full swing. I don't want to be on top of the ball. This type of drill, you'll see a lot of times where you have to stop your stroke short. It's like, ooh, kind of got a fast one on. It's usually because you moved way too far, okay? Even if I hit a backhand here, and the next ball comes here and I decide to use a forehand, the correct motion is not doing a step, it's actually taking a step to the left, so I still have plenty. I always want to have maximum reach to make contact on the ball. Other than that, it looked like the backhands and forehands, everyone was getting good spin on the ball and brushing upward. What we're going to spend the rest of the morning on until noontime is probably the most important way to win a point, which is looping. We don't have any choppers here. Some of you might like to smash, but before you can smash, you need to set it up. No one's going to just serve the ball and it's like, okay, time to smash it. We've got to get them to pop it up a little bit, okay? So what we're going to do is work on improving your pushes so that you make it very difficult for your opponent to loop, okay? But at the same time, looping off of underspin. After lunch, we'll spend time looping off a topspin, which is a slightly change in stroke and in how you go into the ball. But at least right now, we're going to be looping underspin, okay? So before that, once we start to go with pushes, if you want to get closer, that's fine, or jump around the side here. When Lewis and I push, this is the first error that I see, and if anyone wants to point out what I'm doing wrong.
Not using your wrist, getting the ball up.
Right. The winner's over, not using my wrist, I'm just going in firm, okay? I'm setting my angle, and I'm keeping my angle right here, okay? This is fine to deal with the spin coming at me, but I can't put much more spin on the ball because I'm just kind of almost like blocking with an open face. So what I want to do is go past the ball. I don't want to stop right at contact, but I want to make contact, backswing, contact, follow through. It's a straight through the ball stroke. If I'm going to Lewis's backhand and my follow through is over here, wasted motion. If I want the ball to go there, that's where I should follow through to. If I want the ball to go down the line, that's where I should follow through. I don't want to go down the line and go, gonna get a lot of side spin. Once we get side spin, kind of all hell breaks loose, okay? Because then you don't know what's gonna happen off of their ball. So go in the direction of the ball, brush under and past it. At the point of contact, don't say, okay, I've got my push, and turn it into a jab. You want to push and go through. This is probably the most common way to return serves, and also at the same time the most overused. People don't know what spins on the ball. Oh, what the heck, I'll just push it. Well, if there's any side spin or top spin, the ball's probably going to pop up and you're going to eat the following return. You want to push underspin. If there's side spin or top spin, we're going to be flipping, hitting, or looping it, okay? We don't push side spin and top spin all that much, okay? Even if you're not sure of the spin, you're better off top spinning the ball than you are saying push, because if you misjudge the top spin, maybe it goes lower, maybe it hits the net. If you misjudge the push, it's going to pop up, and that's the same as giving your opponent a free card to smash on you. The first pushing I'm going to have you do is deep. There's two types of pushing, short and deep, on serve return. When you're going short, you're going to use more wrist, hit more of the bottom of the ball. When you're going to go deep, your wrist is going to be firmer, and you're going to go through the ball a little bit more, okay? Off of looping, the first one we're going to do is the deep push. So you can see I'm still going through the ball, okay? But my wrist isn't like I'm going short right here. This is through. I'm trying to get to the last 3 inches of the table, follow through out. And the rules are, I'm doing my backhand, same thing we just did on backhand. Left foot forward, arms balanced, everything is the exact same. I don't want to now start pushing with my right foot forward or do some other combination. So what we're going to have you do is your opponent's going to serve a ball. We're not going to worry too much about the quality. It's just going to be an underspin serve. And my return back to them is going to be right to the middle, deep push. Lewis's drill then is going to be to loop it. Okay? A couple of things to remember when we're looping. Everything that we've said about the forehand is true. The only addition is going to be I'm going to relax my arm so the tip, instead of coming at 3 o'clock or 9 o'clock, it's going to be a little bit further down, not at 6, not straight down, more like at 7. Okay, we're going to just relax my arm. There's no tension. There's none of this where I'm strangling the neck of the paddle. It's just nice and relaxed. I mean, it should feel like spaghetti, okay? It's just, you've got your grip, but it's relaxed, okay? We're going to start to loop with our shoulders and our waist by turning. I'm not going to do it. That is all arm. That's 0 of my body. I want to let my body go through it. For the ones who I've worked with before, I apologize for using the analogy. It's like grabbing a bag with both hands and throwing it forward. We're going to use both parts of our body. Okay, it's not going to be across the band. We don't want to make sure it's right here. Nice and relaxed on the forearm, and just let both arms go through. It's almost like if you were holding a towel, and you're going to turn with both. That's going to give you maximum power. We want to brush the ball. Don't hit it too thick. Brush through it, and as you follow through, that's where the ball is going to go. If I'm looping to Lewis's backhand or forehand, I'm going to follow through in this direction. If I'm looping to his backhand, I'm going to follow through here. I don't want to loop to his backhand and be over here, because everything from this angle over to here is just wasted motion. It's not helping the ball go in that direction. And it's going to be tough to get back into ready position. So the drill is going to be relatively simple. I'm going to serve a ball. Lewis is going to make a high quality deep push to my middle. And on the first ball, I'm going to loop it cross court to his forehand. We can play out the point. Then I'm going to serve it. He's going to push it to the middle. I'm going to loop it cross court to his backhand. So the server will do 7.5 minutes each. The server will alternate their opening loops, one to the backhand, one to the forehand. Be aware after you make your opening loop that you're not so high up in the air that when the ball comes back that you're forced to do a swashbuckling type of, ooh, now I got me loop up here, then I got to hit the next one. Keep the elbow down, loop up, get ready. Loop up. Like I said, all the stuff we did on the forehand, it's the same. The only difference is we're starting a little bit lower and just coming up with a little bit more spin. But there's no, okay, this is a big loop. That's not how we did our forehand. We did our forehand just like this. This is my loop. Okay, here's forehand, boom, boom, boom. Now here's my loop. Just a little bit more relaxed on the backswing. I'm going to brush the ball. The point of contact when looping underspin, slightly after the top of the bounce. Okay? It's not when the ball goes 3 inches from the floor. Ball bounces up, here's top of the bounce, boom, that's looping. Literally within 1/4 of an inch as it starts to fall. That will allow your racket to naturally open up. If you do it at the top of the bounce, your racket's going to be too closed to loop underspin. But as the ball begins to fall, your racket's close to the ball. If your opponent makes a push that's not too long and it just comes off the end a little bit, which happens in tournaments all the time, smaller backswing. Don't go and then blow your hand into the end of the table. You see the ball coming here, it's just about to come off the end. Start with your racket close to the ball and over accentuate the follow through. Okay? We don't want to take any knuckles off. Okay? Pushers, aim for the back white line. Okay? Really go through the ball. Wrist is firm, but you're still going to go through and get some spin on it. Okay, so everyone on this side, go down one. Everyone on that side, go down one. Corners, just turn the corner. Thank you. Okay. To deal with the second loops that I was talking about before, with the first loop, we're dealing with underspin, and it seemed like everyone had a pretty good handle. Just to remember, when you're looping underspin, you need to get your racket below the ball. If you take your backswing here and you're trying to loop a heavy underspin ball, you're probably going to hit it into the net. When in doubt, drop it down against underspin. The next type of looping we're going to do is when somebody gives you topspin. And we're going to do a lot more point-oriented drills for the next 2 to 3 hours. Okay, we're going to spend less time on just how to flip, how to do all this stuff. We're going to just get into points and drills. What I'm going to do is I'm going to serve a topspin ball. Lewis is going to block the first ball either to my forehand or backhand. I don't know where he's going to go. I'm going to use my forehand to loop it. Then the next ball he's going to block to the other court. I'm going to still forehand loop it. So we're going to get serve, footwork, and forehand loops. We're going to hit 3 birds with this one drill. So I serve topspin, okay? He's going to top it anywhere. And then I'm going to just keep looping to his backhand. Okay, that's going to be the most controlled. So come up, serve short, top spin. Watch where it is. Spin, spin, spin. When you're looping top spin, unlike the chop where we're down here on the backswing, you're going to be a little bit higher. So I'm not bending my knees nearly as much. I'm turning my waist so that the ball has topspin. It hits my racket, it wants to go up. If I drop down, I'm going to be lifting it. I don't need to add any lift. I need to add cover. Still make brushing contact with the ball. Do not think that you can lock your wrist and just do this like you're kind of, oh, I'm looping topspin. No, you still need to brush through it and get your forearm to go through the ball. Everything that we've talked about, diagonal feet, I'm looping here, through the ball, left hand for balance. Both shoulders are part of the stroke. It's not crossing the body in this manner. You might have a little bit more success looping repeatedly than maybe even when you're doing forehand to forehand, if you use your body. If you're just using your arm, the ball is going to fly all over. You're going to have a tough time. But if you take your time and really think about turning your shoulders, keeping your elbow down and still, but brushing over it, coming in from the top, I think you'll find that goal is to get 3 to 4 loops every point. Slow it down if you're having difficulty. Let's start with the topspin serve. And if you can serve it shorter, that would be good. A deeper serve, you're probably not going to get a chance to loop if you serve deep topspin in a match. We will be spending a ton of time on serve and serve return, but right now, I just want to get everyone looping. This will be kind of the last static, or it's not a random drill, other than you don't know where the first one. Once you've looped the first ball, it's 1 and 1, 1 and 1. You don't have to think too much. If the ball goes out of sequence, we're trying to simulate games or matches. If the ball goes out of sequence, don't say, well, you know, he's not good enough, couldn't put the ball right. No, move your feet and loop it. If the ball hits the net, the ball is still in play. They didn't take nets out of the game yet. Hits the net, go in, get it back. Hits the edge, drop your racket down and try to return it. I can't tell you how many times I've played matches where I've seen people return edges and the other person's already turned their back. One was, oh, I got an edge. Oh, and then the ball comes back and they're not ready. Play nets, play edges, and play balls that go out of sequence. You have to do that if you want to improve. Lewis is going to pair up new people, and then we'll do the switch, but he's going to get us started. Again, we'll do 7.5 on each side. The mirror side will be the serve top spin. The non-mirror side will be doing the placement and then the blocking.
Dean and Charles.
I've been there. That's a goal.
Hopefully, that drill pointed out 2 things. One is that everyone can probably improve their footwork a little bit. And two, that when you don't know where the first ball is going, it kind of takes on an additional thing to be aware of after you serve. You can't just serve and expect or wait for it to go somewhere. You have to pay attention. For the rest of this afternoon session, we're going to spend a lot of time on how to get your strengths and especially forehands into points during rallies. Because of that, I want to spend 5 minutes and make sure that everyone's aware of how to make a high quality short serve. Okay? We will spend time tomorrow on serve and serve return. But right now, I just want to give you kind of the physics behind having a high quality short serve. When I make contact I want to make it as low as possible, okay? If I make contact too high, ball's going to go over the net high. The lower I can make contact, the lower the ball is going to go over the net, okay? Net 6 inches high, therefore probably 8 inches and below is where we want to make contact. Because you can have an open face, I can make contact 1 inch above the table and it's still going to go over, okay? The problem is if I do that same open face serve at, let's say, 12 inches, ball's going to go over way too high.
And you're talking about chop serves.
Chop or top, because if I make a top and serve up here, I can't make it go lower because I'm adding top.
So you can do it an inch above
Yeah.
the table with top serve.
Yeah,
no
so
problem.
down here, I can, wait, I'll edit that out of the tape. I can still come up.
That's not a typical serve.
Normally I'm doing it off of a high toss.
Oh, please!
Okay.
Oh, you got it on the first time.
Yeah, okay. But you can
He's silly, you edit, he's silly.
and
Okay.
that will allow you to lift it. Obviously, the underspin ball is going to be easier because it's automatically lifting up. Here, I need to pull up on the ball. When you make contact, we want to make the ball go over the net as low as possible. Okay, so again, if I make contact up here, it's going to want to go over the net at that height. The first bounce on my side of the table, okay, if I'm serving short and it lands close to my end line, it's going to go over, and in order to clear the net on the way down, if it bounces, comes up, and to clear it, it's going to have to be too high early on. The first bounce needs to be short, closer to the net. That's going to allow for a nice balanced trajectory. Okay, so if it lands here, then it can go over the net at the midpoint and land here. If I make that first bounce here, and I try to make the second bounce land here, the midpoint's here. In order to clear the net, it's got to be higher than the net. So by the time it does land on their side, it's going to go right back up to the same height. So it's very important that when you make contact on any short serve, that you don't hit it into the table, but that you serve it so the ball goes off your racket and a little, it kind of jumps the section right here. So it's up into the table. This will allow you to do full spin and not have to do it back here and kind of stop it because you're afraid it might go long. So the whole idea is not to serve it and at contact stop because you're thinking, well, I don't want it to go long. You need to do a full swing, but just make sure that you're swinging past the ball, but that it lands further and up close to the net. If I do want to do a deep serve, first bounce is close to the end line. It wouldn't make sense to try to go deep with the ball bouncing up here. It's just not going to clear the net and get to the far corner. So deep to deep, short to short. A good serve is 2 bounces. A 3 bounce serve on your opponent's side where it goes 1, 2, 3 is very obvious that it's going to be a 2 bouncer. If it's going to bounce 3 times, the person's going to see that, well, if the first bounce was here, second bounce was here, okay, well, it's not a deep one. The goal when you're serving is to get your opponent to think, I don't know, is it a 1 bounce or a 2 bounce? Because if it's 1 bounce, they can attack it. Ball comes off the end, they attack. If it's a 2 bounce, and the first bounce is here and the second bounce is here, they're going to say, oh, that's short, and they'll push it. But if the second bounce is from here's first, and the second one's right on the white line, then the person's like, well, should I loop it? Should I push it? Should I loop it? Should I push it? At that point, they've already given up the opportunity to make an effective shot. So your best serves are not 3, 4, and 5 bounces like, oh, I serve it super short. Your best serves are ones that give your opponent that decision-making hot potato in their hand where they're like, well, I'm not really sure if it's long or short because it's going to make their short return weaker and their long return probably a little bit weaker also.
So I run into some players though that they kind of step in on like a 3 bouncer they choose. You know, I can tell that they're choosing to step in and pick that up. So then, do you want to serve it a little shorter?
No,
I mean, they're picking it up anyway. They know.
So they're going to be flipping.
Right, it's going to be a 3 bouncer, and they know that, and so they choose to pick it up faster.
Yeah, I would be serving it deeper. I would do a 1.5. I mean, a lot of times world-class players, what they'll do is they'll serve what we call half-long serves, where the ball bounces once and it clearly is coming off the end. Because if the guy's not willing to loop that and he's trying to push it, it's really tough to push that from short because it's actually too long. the serve gets longer and longer, it's more difficult to keep it short. So if the guy is stepping in, I would just start serving it a little bit heavier, and if he then steps back, and then bring him in. Play him off with a serve. But your goal is to get your offensive shot in. And when I do serve, when Lewis serves long to me, not on purpose, but if his ball comes off the end of the table, I'm going to go ahead and start looping the two wide angles or right into his elbow. Even though you might play, let's say, a 1300 player, and you're like, well, he can't return my spin anyway. I'm going to just put it into play and just spin the heck out of it. You're really limiting yourself to beating 18, 19, and 2000 players, because those guys will loop it for winners. And if that's what you've been practicing, you're going to be in trouble. So it's better to really say, you know what, I'm going to do high-level serves. I'm going to serve short. I'm not going to have to worry about somebody just looping it by me. The worst thing to happen is it's 9-9. You're serving, and you're thinking, I hope it doesn't go long. And that usually happens when you don't have a short serve at your disposal. You need to have a solid double bounce serve that you can constantly land within the last 6 inches of the table on the second bounce. Okay? If you're nervous and you hold up and tighten and stop so you don't want it to go long, that'll make it go longer. You have to spin the ball. It's just like all the loops that we've done and the pushes. You must have a follow through. The moment you stop your stroke, the ball just doesn't have any extra topspin to pull itself down. So you must, as you serve, swing thin, hit a small piece of the ball, but go past it. Don't make contact and stop your stroke right there. Continue on so that you actually get the ball to spin, and not that you're in a deceleration mode into contact. You want to actually be accelerating through contact and then just relaxing. So the drill that we're going to do right now is one person is going to serve short. The opponent has the luxury of pushing short or pushing deep. Okay? If it's a deep pushback, you've kind of accomplished your goal as a server. You make a loop and it's a free point. If they push short, they've got the upper hand now. I'm going to have you give up the offense and push one deep. And then the serve returner gets a chance to make the first loop. So both people are completely doing the drill. It's not one side is doing it, the other side's spectator. If I push that serve short, I'm going to get the first loop. But I have to mix it. Do it like 50% of the time. Half of your serve returns short. Half of your serve returns deep. And if you do push deep, be ready to block. I mean, that's like the normal thing. If you push deep, assume that they're ready. They're going to loop and you can block them out of position. If you push short, get ready to drop your racket down and spin it up. This is identical to what you would see in a normal under 2,000 match when the score is 8-all in an important part of the game. Somebody serves short, the other guy made a good decision to either drop it or push it deep, and then it's time to execute. It's not who only has the best strokes, it's executing, getting your stroke on the table. If you're missing your stroke, you got to get your feet in better position, you got to move your shoulders, you got to create some spin, okay? Do we want to have everyone just rotate
What
down?
happens if the serve is long?
Excellent question. If the server serves long, the receiver has the right to go ahead and open up with the forehand or backhand. We just worked on that set of skills. So if it's a deep serve, watch it. One bounce comes off, spin it up. Okay. Hopefully everyone's warmed up a little bit. You get a little bit of a breather because Lewis and I are going to talk a little bit more about serve return. We did touch base yesterday with how to make sure your serve goes short by making sure that the contact and the first bounce is closer to the net on a short ball. So up towards the net to keep it low. Again, we don't want to make contact too high. We want to keep it low. Also, another thing, everyone deals with illegal serves differently from themselves and their opponent. When you're playing in a tournament, we need to throw it up 6 inches. If you throw it up 4 to 7, you're in a zone where somebody legitimately can say you're serving illegal. You're better off throwing it up 9, maybe 10 inches, so then if you get a little bit off your game, okay, then it only goes up 7. But generally, most people in the US, since the service rule changed, we're still throwing it up 3 to 5 inches. Yeah, it's better than before, but very rarely, if you watch any of the world tapes, you'll see that it's a really big effort. You see most players toss it up and then they serve. They're not just serving it right out of their hand. So be aware. It also makes it easier if you're trying to get a lot of spin on the ball to toss the ball a little bit higher because it allows you to get under it. If you serve it without any real height to the ball, by the time you make contact, it's already too low. Okay, so we're also going to talk a little bit about serving return with flipping. When you're serving, make sure you're serving either underspin, no spin, or top spin. With the side spin, you can do variations, but for at least this morning, at least this next set of drills, I want to focus on improving your underspin serve to where you can score points directly or immediately set up your opening loop. Everyone was doing a great job at looping off of pushes, but now let's do it off of your serve. Big mistake I see when people try to serve underspin both backhand and forehand is they come down on the ball. The more I come down and the faster I come down, the more it's going to send the ball into the table and then want to kick itself up. If I can make contact on the bottom of the ball going parallel to the table surface, I can go as fast and as hard as I want, and all it's going to do is add more spin to the ball. The moment my racket goes, Charles, the moment my racket goes at an angle, once I go forward, it's going to go long. It has to go long because the ball is leaving the front of my racket. If you look carefully from the side, when I serve my backhand serve, and the same is true on my forehand with underspin, at the point of contact, my racket is going in front of the ball. The racket is already past the ball, and all it's doing is putting spin on the ball. It won't go off the table when I go faster. It's only spin. I'm not doing this on the back. The faster I go on the back, the more it's going to kick out. That being the case, when you watch your opponent, if you're saying, well, I'm not really sure if it's a side spin or if it's a heavy chop, look and see where their racket is directly after contact. If the racket is already up in front, good chance it's heavy underspin. If the racket is still behind the ball, it's probably a real weak underspin, which when you go to loop it, don't lift so much. Okay, you're going to be going a little bit more forward. Same is true on the forehand. I don't know how easy it is for you guys to see. But at contact, if I go here, ball's already in front, right at contact, versus my racket is already in front. So off of a high toss serve, coming through is going to guarantee that the ball will not, go long just because I went past the ball, okay? Contact under and through. I said it when you were looping in a couple other strokes. At the point of contact, continue the follow through. If you stop at contact, the ball, and you decelerate, the ball's going to fly. The same is true when you serve. If you come and go, you're not going to get a quality short serve with any type of spin. You have to go past the ball.
So when you're doing that, you're getting 4, 5, 6 bounces. So if we just want a 3 bounce, are we going to angle slightly, or how does it change?
I would change, that's an excellent question. I would change to make sure my bounce is a little closer to me.
Okay.
Because remember, as we get closer to the end line, we make a deeper serve.
Okay.
So I would do the exact same motion. And normally I'm doing this off of a high toss now. So that one's definitely too long. So then I need to move. Okay, now that's getting close right to the end line. So use this side of the table more than the opposite side. Everyone I see when they're serving, they're thinking where the serve's going to go on that side, and then they give up aiming it on this side. This side is the independent variable. That's the dependent. Depending on where this side is, that's going to follow nicely. So if I'm going to go deep, get it into the end line. Don't think, oh, I want it to go deep over there, because then you're going to end up doing that. You're going to launch it too close to the center. It's going to hit the net and go off, or it's just not going to be that quick and deep.
Okay, and then if you want a deep chop, I mean, you kind of, I find myself kind of getting stuck unless I do angle it some, and,
Yeah.
because you're getting close to the table, right?
Right. What you can do also for a deep chop is bend a little bit
Oh, okay.
into the ball to help get you down. Because remember, we're trying to get under the ball, and if I'm up too high, I'm going to be going boom
Okay.
and kicking up. Same is true on the backhand. When I want to go really deep, super deep. Okay. right into the edge of the table. Okay. Every one of your serves, if you're going to practice your serves at home, and this is by far the easiest way to gain a quick 100 rating points, practice your serves 2 to 3 times a week for 20 minutes. Get comfortable making that ball land where you want it to, especially the 2 bounce serves. I was just going to mention something. I'm going to add something about serving. Well, my brain unfreezes.
What did you say?
Flip.
Well, flip will be next. There's one other thing I wanted to mention on serving. Okay.
Well, anyway, what Sean said years ago when I was trying to play tournaments once a month, and I'd go down to Danny's place. That's what I would practice. And it was amazing how well it worked against the under 1,800 players, especially the underspin. I just said to get a nice little short underspin.
I got it. Every one of your serves, I should feel comfortable serving it short to the forehand, into their elbow, middle, into their backhand, forehand, elbow deep, wide backhand. Serving the ball just right in here and right in there isn't going to require your opponents to move their feet all that much. You want to get them as uncomfortable as possible. And I'm sure everyone knows that when you play better players, directly off the serve you feel like, gosh, I'm just off balance. Well, usually it's because they're forcing you to actually move your feet and not serve into these beautiful, well, oh, that's where they went. It's more like, whoa, I got to get all the way up here. Or, ooh, they jammed me back. So when you practice your own serve, make sure you're comfortable doing your chop serve short to the backhand, short to the middle, short to the forehand, deep down the line, every single spot, because the way you kind of pick apart your opponent is, in the first couple of points, you should serve to a variety of places. If one area they have trouble with, you've got to be comfortable keeping and serving to that one location. If all of a sudden if I play Simon, I know, boy, his short forehand is really strong, but his deep backhand is kind of weak on the serves. If my best serve is only a short forehand, I'm screwed for the whole match. I've got to be able to serve that same ball short to his forehand, short to the middle, short to the backhand, deep to the backhand. Oh, I found a winner. Then when it's 9-9, probably going to go to that and serve. Another thing that a lot of people do is they'll play a match. They'll see a person miss a serve and they'll say, okay, he missed it. They put that serve in their pocket for a close match. They lose 11-6 and they never even get to do the serve a second time. If you see a person having difficulty with a spin or placement, use it. I mean, let's build a lead so that when it comes towards the end of the game, you're up 10-6 versus it's 9-9 and you're just hoping that you're going to get a chance to serve at the end. Exploit their weaknesses often. Most players cannot improve a glaring weakness in 8 points. And you know how tough it takes, or how long it takes to improve a particular shot. You're not going to get it just because a guy hit a second ball there. On serve returns, real simple. If it comes off the end of the table, we're all somewhat offensive players. You got to open up. Okay? As I said yesterday, if the ball's only coming off the end a little bit, smaller backswing. If it's coming off the end deeper, a little bit more body. Okay? If it's short, we've got 3 options. We can push short, we can push long, or we can flip. When you're pushing long, again, firm wrist, go for the corners and go for the elbow. Pushing deep right to there is not going to give Lewis much trouble other than to make him decide where he wants to loop it by me on the backhand or the forehand. Okay, that's the toughest decision he'll have to make. If I can take that same push and go wide to his back, and now he's got to decide, do I take the risk of stepping around and maybe tossing up a lollipop, or do I go ahead and just push it back and say, you know what, you got me on that one, maybe I can get you on the same one. So make your opponent think, make them make tough decisions, don't make them make obvious decisions. When you're flipping, this is one of the biggest misconceptions I see all the time. Everyone thinks it's a point-winning shot. Watch any of the DVD tapes out there. It's a way to open up the point and hopefully not get the ball looped down your throat. Placement is more important than power. Yes, if the ball is high, you'll see some of the higher risk players trying to win the point. But if you watch any of the Chinese, if you watch Waldner, If you watch Pearson, you'll even Timo a little bit though. Timo, because he has an open face, he tends to do a little bit more wrist. They are always trying to place the ball to where a loop won't come out, okay? It's the same as our forehand stroke. We're going to step in to the side of the ball. Do not step in behind it. If you step in behind it, you're going to have a bend in your wrist and your elbow is going to do weird things. Step in to the side of it so you can do your normal forehand stroke. On topspin, take it slightly before the top of the bounce. On underspin, take it slightly after the top of the bounce, meaning like no more than half an inch. You don't want to let the ball come down to where you're forced to really lift it up. If Lewis serves underspin, I'm going to come in late and then come up and brush it. My placement, if I can go wide, or if I can go to his elbow, if I can go to his backhand, that will score so many more points than if I just, so, boom, right to his elbow. Same thing if I want to come in, right. I can go to all three locations. I just said the same thing on the serve. When you serve, you have to be able to go to all locations. When I'm returning serve, what I'm thinking, Lewis serves the ball, I step in, I get close to the ball, and I wait. And I look and I say, what's Lewis doing? Oh, he's camping out on his backhand side. I said, okay, I still have some time. Ball's now, it's underspin, top of the bounce slightly after. Where's Lewis? He's still on his backhand. Okay, I'm going to flip away from him. Okay? I do not say before the point starts, oh, I guess I'm going to flip this ball and I'm going to just flip it to his forehand. That makes no sense. You cannot predict what type of serve he does before you've seen him do it. Watch the ball come at you and then judge. Make a judgment that, okay, Lewis is kind of favoring his forehand. I'm going to go flip it to his backhand side and then get ready for the return. Far too often I see people making up their mind way too early, giving up a ton of information of where their opponent's weak, and then just not even going to the weak side. Maybe the best move is he has served and he listened to Dean and he took a half a step back and I'm able to drop it. Well, if I don't watch him, how am I going to drop it? I've got to see what's going on. Every shot you take requires a judgment and it's independent from the previous. It's not robotic, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's a given what you're going to do. You need to be able to watch your opponent and make a decision. In tournament matches, if you can do that, you'll have so many free opportunities to hit a safe shot, but have it be very effective. I mean, it's 9-9. Okay, I'm going to really hit this one hard. Well, what if the guy's already backed up? If you play a soft one, he comes lunging in, and then the second one you might be able to hit a little bit harder, a little bit faster. If you can pay attention to that when you're playing points, you might find like you're slowing down and forgetting to do the movements because now you're thinking and not playing. You need to balance both of them. You need to be thinking, let me see what's going on over on the opposite side of the table before I make my final decision. What we're going to have you do for this next drill, you're going to switch a couple players?
Yeah,
Okay, Lewis will,
they've already situated over here.
Lewis will switch. What I want you to do is serve underspin, okay? The opponent is either going to push short to the middle or deep to the two corners. We know when it comes to the backhand deep, you're going to just backhand spin it. Watch and see where they are. You can spin it anywhere you want, but take a look. On the forehand, same thing. If they're on their backhand side, go ahead and loop cross court. If they're more towards the middle, loop down line. If they drop it, you have to be ready to step in. We're not going to step in directly behind the ball. You're going to serve it and step into the side, but go ahead and flip with your forehand. And again, you can flip to either corner. Try both. Do not get in the habit of only flipping in one direction, because if you do that, I'm playing you. I'm going to serve and then just camp out over there and get ready to receive your flip. Then I'm going to loop it to one of two angles. I'm going to wait and see where you're leaning. I'm going to go the opposite way. Okay? You're always going to feel like, oh my gosh, I'm off balance. Boy, hit to the weak side. Why? Because I waited to watch you move, and then I go the other direction. The best players seem to have so much time in the world where they're creating that. They're saying to themselves, I'm not going to hit it any earlier than I need. And if I want to hit it earlier, I'll step up and get closer to the table so I can hit it at the top of the bounce. Okay, so just again, short underspin serve, receiver can drop it short to the middle or push wide. On the deep one to the backhand, spin it. Deep one to the forehand, spin it. Short one, go ahead and flip it to one of the two corners. Try to play the point like you feel the same intensity that it's 9-9. Don't say, okay, well, I'm just serving. It'll be any, play it like you're playing a tournament. When you practice in that manner, tournaments are real easy. Otherwise, it's like a light switch. You've got to turn it completely on or completely off. We want to make practice in tournaments identical in intensity. I mean, if the ball hits the net, I've seen a couple people get them back. Fight to get that ball on the table. Because at 9-9, you can't afford to just stand there and say, oh, he got a net on me. You got to get that ball back. So,
I get flips, thrown at me. Are those balls coming back kind of dead? I mean, what's a typical? So
Very
you've got to
dead.
be able to kind of spin them back.
right. 2 points on that. When you're flipping, don't flip it dead. Make some topspin on your flip. Okay, that'll increase the likelihood of it going where you want it to go. A dead flip is very tough to aim and land. When that ball comes at you, because you're going to play people who aren't putting spin on it, you've got to generate a little bit more spin. So the ball comes at you, and instead of thinking, okay, it's a deep one, time to rip it, make sure you're rushing it and getting, you've got to turn that ball
Because they
over.
tend to want to just dump into the net.
Or sometimes if they flip it, it's easy to loop them off the end because if you don't make enough spin. So really think when that ball comes, get that racket, and it doesn't, you don't necessarily need to drop it down, but you have to get it below the ball so that you can actually get some racket force so that you can turn it over. But it's very common that a person will flip it quick and the opponent will loop off the end because it wasn't heavy tops, it was a dead ball. Okay, so line up with your partners. Thank you all for that. Thanks.
Charles, I think you move here.